Well, hello everyone, and welcome to SIX's live summit today, titled Product Expansion and the Road to 2022. I'm pleased to introduce the CEO of SIX, Daniel Barankin, and COO, Bianca Brashola. Bianca and Daniel are going to take us through the latest product updates within SIX, and then as always, we will open the floor to live questions. So at any time during the presentation, feel free to submit your questions on the right-hand side, and we'll hopefully get to them afterwards. And as always, the summit is being recorded and will be available to watch afterwards on six.com. But without any further ado, I'm going to pass this over to Bianca to get it started. Thank you.
Hi, folks. Thank you so much for attending our product launch event today. I'm very happy to share with you some of the product iterations that we've deployed, and then later pass along to Daniel, who'll share what's on our product roadmap for both investors and for issuers. Before diving into the updates, I want to start by telling you our mission. SIX is on a mission to unlock social mobility on a global scale by allowing anyone from anywhere to invest in anything. A few years ago, we noticed a shift occur in capital markets, pushing folks towards self-directed investing and the wisdom of the crowd. Investors today have the ability to both conduct research, talk to their peers, and invest in the companies that they're interested in, all from their smartphones. As such, issuers have been adapting to this new mode of investing by finding innovative ways to connect and build a community of self-directed investors. We built SIX as a response to that shift in order to provide issuers and investors with access, coverage, and community. To that end, I'm excited to announce some of our new product developments that are available for clients today. The first innovation is in our analytics module. We've increased our ability to analyze and measure your web traffic in order to better understand the types of investors that are visiting your corporate website. We are now able to better dive into demographic data, as well as analyzing user acquisition in order to measure the channels driving investor traffic. If you're an existing client and you have questions about your web traffic, please reach out to your account manager for more information. The second innovation is with our email module. Our email module allows issuers to design and send email marketing campaigns to their list of investors. What separates our module from other email marketing systems is that it allows you to better capture your email analytics, since all of your analytics will be stored in one place. And there are no additional costs associated with using the platform. Also, under the umbrella of the email module, we've rolled out the ability for investors to book meetings directly with management as part of the drip campaign. If you'd like to either roll out the SIX email module as your email marketing system, or to update your drip campaign to include meeting links, please let your account manager know. Finally, we have a host of upcoming product developments to explore. Without further ado, I'd like to pass it along to Daniel Barankin to let you know what we have in store for the next 12 months. Thanks.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction. In this presentation, I'm going to talk a bit about the high-level vision of what we're building and what you can expect as we come into 2022 and beyond. As you heard from Bianca, our mission is to unlock social mobility on a global scale by empowering anyone from anywhere to invest in anything. And the way we believe we can have the most progress against that mission is by aggregating the global supply and demand for capital and for ideas and putting it all in one place here on six.com, where it's free for anyone to access, regardless of where in the world they are, what socioeconomic background or educational background or financial background they come from, and allowing for them to discover on their own and through their peers the different opportunities that are available to them. And so the question becomes, well, if that's our mission, what products and services and innovations are going to get us there? And so over the last few years, and in particular, it's going to be accumulating in 2022, we've built out two distinct parts of six.com. The Investor Experience Platform, which is a suite of tools and software for public companies and issuers so they can communicate their messages to investors, and also a suite of tools called the Investment Discovery Platform, where it allows for investors to go and conduct their own research, do their own due diligence, and really get an ability to participate in how the future gets built by investing. And so I'm going to highlight what this is going to look like by the end of next year. And I'll start a bit with the Investor Experience Platform, a suite of tools for companies. Today, we've built and have in production and development around a dozen first-party software applications. These software applications include chat. It allows for investor relation professionals and companies to directly communicate with themselves, with each other, as well as with investors. It's a Slack-like interface, which you can access on chat. We have strategy, which provides project management software. It's the ability to go and manage all of the different investor relation campaigns and tools from one centralized place, whether it's your digital campaigns or in-person offline campaigns. Summits, which is perhaps our most widely known and used product, the ability of hosting large-scale virtual investment events here over the internet where it's live and real time. Design, where it's the ability to go and create digital assets, things like banners, social media posts, and such. The actual creative design can happen live using the design module. We also have a module called Creative, where all the video editing takes place. Email, which is a module that functions to allow companies to send out drip campaigns as well as mass newsletter style emails to go and communicate with a broad base of investors and allow those investors to then respond, and you can communicate with them through those responses. Social, it's a software tool that allows for the publishing and monitoring and listening of everything that's happening in the social media ecosystem as it relates to your company and the general macro and microeconomic conditions thereof. Ads, this is perhaps one of the most recent releases, where it's the ability to go and run ad campaigns and banner ads in particular across a number of different financially oriented websites through 6.com natively. So what this means is that when you have an event or when you have an exciting news release, you're able to disseminate that information to a very specific audience of individuals that will have the relevant context to make the most of the opportunity in the messaging. Web, this is also a new module that we released. The web module in particular allows for the launching of websites, the hosting of websites, as well as the creation of landing pages and various other aspects as well. IXO, which is an abbreviation of Investor Experience Optimization. What this allows for is heat maps and the ability to actually conduct screen recordings and collect feedback from end users that, as a public company that's managing a website, you're able to go hear what individual users are saying, and from that make the adjustments to your website so that it's as user-friendly and as investor-friendly as possible. And finally, analytics. The analytics module, which is one of our most developed modules, allows for all of the data that gets created across all these various other software platforms and tools that you're using across the investor experience platform ecosystem. All of that data feeds into one common place, and you're then able to make informed decisions around how to optimize your campaigns so that you can deliver better investor experiences. Investor experiences are at the core of what the SIX investor experience platform delivers. And to further deliver great investor experiences, we built an entire software suite called the Investment Discovery Platform. And this is a suite of tools specifically for investors to go and more effectively discover the investment opportunities available to them. And so it consists of 6 first-party software applications that we provide. The first application is what we call Live. It's the ability to, as the name suggests, connect directly with companies in a live interactive manner. So on the one side, companies are using our Summits module to create and host and facilitate the event as a host. On the other side, investors are using the Live module to go and actually attend that event and be part of that live interactive discussion. The second module that we've released for investors is what we call TV. And this is a way for investors to, after the event has already concluded, in a Netflix-style way, access all of the on-demand content that has been created. We have more than 300 videos that have been created through events that have been hosted on SIX. And through the TV module, investors have their selection of everything that's ever been recorded and published through 6.com directly on our platform. The next module available to investors is the magazine module. The magazine module is a way for investors to access content that's published directly here on 6.com. It includes things like press releases, upcoming announcements, editorials, and commentary. And through it, investors are able to go and get a better overview of exactly what's happening in the sector. Next, we have the newsletter module, which is a mechanism for investors to subscribe to various different newsletters. Over time, this is going to expand as anyone can actually use SIX to create a newsletter, and similarly, anyone can use SIX to use to actually discover the different newsletters that are available. The next module is the markets module, and this is a module that I'm particularly excited about. It's a way for investors to use 6.com to get the latest real-time price data and financial data about the companies that matter most to them. We have currently in development more than 50,000 securities that we're actively monitoring, and using 6.com, investors will be able to use the markets functionality to go and get all of the data that is associated with that individual security, whether it's the price information, the liquidity data, the market data, the press releases, etc. All of that can be accessible directly on 6.com through the markets functionality. And last but not least is the release of 6 Crypto. This is a way for investors to use 6.com and open a non-custodial crypto wallet where they can go and access all of their crypto and Web3 information here in one place. We never have custody of any coins or of any information. It's instead an interface where investors are able to go and access their existing Web3 wallets, as well as create new wallets so that they can connect to the exciting Web3 ecosystem. And over time, this is going to be an aspect that we develop into governance, and we allow for decentralized autonomous organizations as we pass along a lot of that functionality over to issuers. We fully integrate the ability of investors and companies to connect. So in summary, these are the high-level items that you can expect over the next 12 months period. Many of these items have already been in development for quite a bit and are just beginning to be rolled out to companies or to investors. For example, analytics, email, ads, all of these functionalities are already live in some sense. Summits has already been live for quite some time. And increasingly with the other modules that I've referenced here, these are each in various stages of development and iteration, and will be rolled out to companies and to investors periodically throughout the next 12 months. Thanks so much. I appreciate you following along with our journey, and I encourage you to try out all of our platform and our tools. You'll notice that we now have a new homepage that showcases, when we scroll down, all of these various different modules and goes into a lot more detail around each and every one of them. And so I encourage you to take a look on the website directly. Thanks so much. Cheers.
Great. Thank you so much, Daniel and Bianca. Lots to look forward to. I'm wondering, what do you envision for 6 at scale?
Ultimately, everything that we do is around the mission of unlocking social mobility. And our view is that in order for social mobility to truly be unlocked, there are 2 major components. The first is that people with great ideas need to be able to share those ideas, so that they can go and build great companies out of those ideas. And on the other side, you need people that are looking at wanting to participate in how the world gets built, either by looking what others are doing and learning from them, or by directly participating, whether it's governance or investing or other aspects. And these 2 groups need to connect with each other. For a very long time in the capital markets, due to logistical constraints of distance and barriers, it's been very difficult for these 2 groups to find each other. And a lot of the emphasis has had to be on those that are already very much inside of these activities already, whether it's institutional investors, whether it's public companies. And so as 6 grows and matures, the idea is that for 6.com to be a place where people can come together, they can discover ideas, they can share ideas, and they can build companies together. And so this would be the aggregation of every idea, of every opportunity, and of every investor looking to invest and every company looking to build. I'll pass it over to Bianca for some additional comments.
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's really about being that single place for anyone from anywhere to invest in anything. And to that end, I'm really eager to see the work that we've put in on this level expand and reach as far as we believe it can.
Absolutely. Thank you. And as a reminder, if anyone has a question, feel free to submit them. But I'm wondering, who is the ideal user for the 6 investor experience platform? And also, who is the ideal user for the 6 investment discovery platform?
So the 6 investor experience platform is specifically built for public company issuers, and all of our focus has been on the metals and mining space. And so we've really given a great deal of consideration around exploration, development, and production stage mining companies. And so that would be the ideal user for the investor experience platform. And what's really neat is that the way companies use the investor experience platform is to deliver really great investor experiences, which takes us to the second end user of 6.com, which is the actual investor. anyone that's interested in learning about how the world around them gets built. I think that for a lot of my friends, especially millennials and increasingly some folks in the Gen Z space, a lot of folks don't realize that everything that we love about modern life, whether it's our iPhones or the technology or our computer, almost all the innovation that's happening in the last 50 years around software, none of it would have been possible without the minerals and resources coming out of the ground, coming out of the metals and mining sector. And so, by and large, for individual investors that are looking at discovering how the world around them gets built in a very literal sense, as well as all the layers on top that get built, for instance, technology, real estate, and so forth, it's investors that want to participate in that process. And the way they can participate is by attending events like these ones, where the people that are building the world can share their ideas. And similarly, the investors can then ask questions and engage, and perhaps be inspired to go and build their own companies as well.
We're seeing these self-directed investors now in various spaces congregating on various investor platforms like FinTwit, Real Vision, and other spaces. And those folks are looking for opportunities to connect issuers in novel ways, and we want to see one of those ways, which is where the investment discovery platform comes into play.
Great, thank you. So there's a lot of new modules coming up. I'm wondering, what module are you most excited for?
So I'm excited a lot. Well, really every module I'm pretty excited for. I'll highlight a select few. On the investment discovery side, everything we build is free. And what that means is that for many investors, the first time they'll be able to access financial data and financial information that previously, due to financial means or a lack of know-how, they weren't able to access. And so in particular, the markets functionality, for instance, where you can, with a few clicks of a button, access financial data and see exactly what companies are doing, what the press releases are, and having it in a user interface that's very user-friendly. I think that's something that can be quite transformative to the experience, especially among new investors that are trying to get into the space. Additionally, making it easier for investors to access community-generated content, like the live events that are hosted on SIX, as well as the on-demand videos, which are the assets produced after the event, and making it easier for investors to go and connect the community-generated content along with the existing public data in terms of public filings and things of that sort, I think will provide a really great interface for investors to see much more of how companies are operating, and therefore can come to more of an informed decision as they conduct their own due diligence.
Personally, I'm a sucker for the data that we can glean from the analytics module. I know it's one of our most developed modules, but the fact that we've been able to iterate on it and build new layers to that, that's something that I'm excited for this update and subsequent updates. And to that end, I also see the IXO component being very complementary to that. The fact that we've layered on the ability to see an increased look into your web traffic, and now with the IXO being able to see things like heat maps and recordings, and to see how investors are actually interacting on your websites, where they're clicking, where they're not clicking. It's a level of information that I think in another part of time would have been seen as probably science fiction, but now is very possible. And the fact that we're able to leverage it and learn more about what investors are thinking and doing is something that I'm really excited for.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess, are there any specific product features that are launching in 2022 that we can look forward to?
So many of these things will be launching in 2022, especially in January and February, so it's going to be quite early. One in particular that I'll give a note to that I think is really quite interesting is a native Web3 functionality that we're adding in the investment discovery platform. And this is going to be a tool that allows for investors that are already part of the Web3 ecosystem, where they have an Ethereum account or a Bitcoin account. What they can do is use our interface to access their financial transactions and data. The entire process is non-custodial, which means we can't be hacked because we never hold any data or any assets whatsoever. The reason that I'm quite interested about this is I think it's the marriage of two really interesting worlds, where on the one side, investors that haven't previously been able to get hands-on with the technology due to how technical it is, can in a very easy to use interface start seeing what the next generation of the web will look like. And on the other side, investors are already very plugged into the Web3 ecosystem. They're already very much embracing the ethos of being self-directed as they're looking at different opportunities and purchasing and making decisions based on it. They can then go one layer behind
the protocol and actually look at the infrastructure that powers it, which is the metals and mining sector specifically. And from that, they can discover really how similar these two spaces are. I think in particular, and we have an event tomorrow looking at inflation, a lot of the theses around the precious metal sector and kind of the monetary metals overlaps in a really interesting way with many of the theses around Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. And so I think that the marriage of these two groups will produce some really interesting, fun internet dialogue, conversations, as well as the sharing of many great ideas that can happen here on SIX.com.
Yeah, absolutely. And Bianca, you mentioned all the data and analytics on the platform. I'm wondering, which fits well into my question, for the users of the platform, how can they measure the impact of our efforts at SIX?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. We're looking at three main pillars of influence, access, coverage, and community. And there are various components within that. Access refers to the access that investors have to issuers. And to that end, we have a number of different metrics that we look at in terms of measuring whether or not more investors are aware. Things like an increased volume and the number of folks that are following your mailing list that we can attribute to our efforts, such as folks that are requesting to follow you, impressions, reach engagement, sort of top of funnel activity. And then as it relates to coverage, looking at how many folks are consuming the content that we're able to create together in the form of registrants, attendees, on-demand viewers, et cetera. And then ultimately looking at community, which refers to the community that exists between the issuers and the investors that we're seeking to build here. And to that end, we're looking at folks requesting to have calls with management. We're looking at the ways in which folks are trying to engage directly with the issuers as it relates to our efforts. And so we're constantly rethinking and retooling the ways in which we can measure our efforts, but the main pillars that we constantly look back to and have from the very beginning are access, coverage, and community.
Great, thank you. I think we have time just for two more questions. Are there plans to broaden SIX's advertising publisher network?
Yeah, so increasingly we're making more and more relationships in the financial kind of internet publishing space, looking first and foremost at the metals and mining space, as well as beyond that and just the general investing space. And so increasingly in early 2022, there's going to be a very broad selection of additional places where marketing and advertising material will live. And so for more details on that, definitely interface directly with your account manager.
Perfect. And in closing, how can existing clients get enrolled in product updates?
So every different client is already eligible for all the product updates we build. We really take an approach of grandfathering companies in, the idea being that as we build on products, even if those products have additional prices, the price that existing companies will have will not be directly affected by that. They'll simply be grandfathered in. And so to that end, anything that we build is accessible for everyone and just becomes part of the general program. I'll throw it over to you, Bianca, for additional commentary.
Yeah, so for folks who are already working directly with us, I highly, highly recommend if you have any additional questions or any questions about enrollment, please bring them up to your account manager in your next reporting meeting. You are eligible to take advantage of any of the things that have already been deployed, and anything that comes out next as it becomes available, it is something that you're able to use. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to your account manager.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Daniel and Bianca, for taking us through all these exciting product updates. And thank you to everyone who joined us today. I encourage you to please stay tuned for all of our upcoming SIX events, such as the one this Friday, the Rise of the Generation Investor. And you can also find more information on our website, www.six.com. And I'll just pass it back to Daniel for any final remarks.
So everything we do is built around the idea that communities build great worlds, great companies. And to that end, I want to thank everyone here in attendance for being part of what we're building. It largely is you are the inspiration for what we build, whether you're using our software as an investor. The feedback that we get from you via email, via chat, through conversations, influences and affects the products that we build for you. And similarly, as an issuer, the feedback that we get about what you like, what you dislike, things you and data points you wish you could have. All of these things influence our product roadmap quite significantly. And to that end, a sincere thank you for being a core inspiration and a direct part of this entire process.